All right, hello everyone. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just a minute. Testing, testing. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, how's everybody doing today? Looks like we have a bunch of people. Thank you for coming again. And we have some people from Vietnam, a bunch of people from Brazil. Hey, what's up, Mark? Where else? We got Greece, Poland, Pakistan. Okay, that's great. Thanks for coming. Gonna do a little bit of setups and then we'll get started. So if you have any questions, remember to put them into the chat box on the right, or you can put it in the question section under the video, and then I can answer that at the end. And yeah, settle in and we'll get started in a couple minutes. Thanks. Yes, the video, the session will be downloadable. I'll send you an email in a day or so when I get the video produced, and yeah, you can just log in and you'll be able to access that for free. So no worries there. All right. So, oh, cool. Georgia and Morocco. Awesome. Welcome, guys. All right. So it is 10 o'clock here. So let's get started. First of all, thank you and welcome again. I hope you get a lot out of this video or this webinar. And today we're going to learn how to create app icons, screenshots, and videos that will help increase your downloads and hopefully your revenue. So before we get started, just a few things. Please close other websites, put your phone on silent, turn your messaging off. Open Evernote or a notebook if you want to take some notes. And I'll be going through the presentation first and then answering questions at the end. And the reason I'm telling you to do this is because I want to give you the biggest benefit possible out of this webinar, and I want you to get the most out of it. So if you're paying attention, if you are asking questions, then I can help you out. And if not, then I can't help you. So I just want to make sure that you get the most out of this time that we're spending together. So what you're going to learn, you're going to learn why your graphic elements are so important, how to test them to see what works best. I know a lot of people just say, oh, that looks nice, and then they put it up and they don't even know, what's going to help improve their conversion rate, right? So I'll show you what to do there. You'll learn how to create amazing icons, screenshots, and videos, even though you're not a designer and without spending a fortune. I'll show you where to get some design ideas and where to get some tools and resources. And I'll show you specific strategies for each asset and much more. So hopefully you learn a lot from this. Okay, so when it comes to App Store optimization, a lot of people think about keywords first, right? And that's not wrong. The first thing you want to be doing is ranking well for your keywords. And if you weren't on the webinar about keywords, you can go into Mobile Action Academy and access that for free. The recording is there. And but once you get that working, then what? What do you do, right? And if you're ranking for these key terms, like some of these games here are ranking for a racing game, people are just going to scroll through their phone, right? Looking for different games. How do you catch their attention? And that's through mostly your screenshots, your icon, and your video. So why should you optimize? So that's the primary reason, right? You want to get people to stop scrolling and notice your app. This will increase your downloads, and if you have a paid app or in-app purchases, then also your revenue. It'll improve your conversion rate when people, downloads to views. It'll convey the quality of your app and make your app seem as good as it is, right? You want to convey the quality that you're building, and then it'll show your potential users why your app is awesome and what it's used for. I think a lot of developers create a great app and they think that these certain elements are really cool, but then that might not be what people want. Maybe people want other things. They like other things about the app, and the thing that the developer likes is maybe kind of minor to the public. So you want to be able to use these things to test different ideas and to see what people actually want. So let's start off with how to optimize your app icons. Okay, so I know there's a question about colors below the video, so I wanted to touch on that first. There's no ideal colors. If you read anything about internet marketing, then they talk about testing button colors and these button colors are optimal or whatever. To me, that doesn't really apply to app icons. You want to think about your branding first. How does this icon fit in with your branding? And if you don't have any branding, then think about what you want your branding to be. And another thing to think about with colors is that is your icon going to stand out on somebody's home screen? I've seen a few app icons where they're just kind of gray and very blah, and sometimes they get lost when people have so many apps on their phone. So those are just a few things to think about with colors. There's no set formula for colors. You just want to think about your branding and how is this going to be attractive to people and make entice people to use the app. The next thing you need to keep in mind is to keep things simple. So for example, if you have a game and you have multiple characters in the game, just focus on one character and see how that character does. And then if that icon doesn't do so well, then you can focus on another character. But keep things simple, focus on one thing at a time. And which brings me to the next point, which is don't use words. I know some app publishers want to use words on the icon, and it doesn't make sense because that looks great maybe on bigger iPads or whatever, but if you're on like a smaller phone, like an iPhone SE or whatever, then that's not going to make a lot of sense because you can't see the word and you're just detracting from the attractiveness of the app, right? So don't use words. Make sure the icon looks professional. This kind of goes without saying, but I know a lot of us want to save money in our businesses where we can, and that's understandable. So maybe sometimes we make the icon ourselves. But if you're like me, I'm not very good at graphics. So if there's one thing that I do hire people for, it's graphics. And so if you're not a good designer, then that's no problem. You can just hire somebody, but make sure that it looks professional. Like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that the icon looks good on multiple devices. So before you launch your app, be sure to test it on multiple devices. And even if you just take a screenshot on your phone and then, kind of cut and paste your icon in there, and then you put it back on your phone and take a look at it. Whatever you can do, just make sure that the icon looks good. And then ask for feedback. I'll give you some resources in a bit, but ask for feedback from more experienced publishers or app marketers and ask them what they think. And then also ask your target audience, what do they want? What do they think is attractive? And that can help you, create a really good app icon after a few iterations. You can also look at what other apps are doing and not copy them, but just take some of their practices, take some of their ideas and use it for your own app. And then last but not least is test. A lot of people spend a lot of time on their icon and then they think, oh, this is the best icon ever. And they don't test it and they don't realize that, okay, maybe they're losing some downloads because, their icon isn't optimal. So try some different ideas. You can hire people pretty inexpensively and just to create a few icon ideas and then test them out. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Okay, so what's working in your niche? So what you can do to look at other app icons quickly is to use the Mobile Actions top charts. And that's free. Just log in and check out the top charts. And then sort by category. What's your category? Or maybe you want to look at similar categories. For example, this is the productivity category, and you can get an idea of what people are doing with those icons. And then I also took a look at like the weather category on iPhone. So there's some interesting ideas here. And as you can see, some of these apps have like bright orange in their icon, and it really stands out. So that's something that I found interesting. And then if you really want to get into the design and the colors, then there's all these online color calculators or color wheels, and they can give you matching colors, colors that are a little bit funky, a little bit weird, or more subtle. And this can help you pick some colors and figure out what kind of color scheme that you want on your app icon. Okay, so to get more resources, we have a blog post, 24 amazing resources for app icon design. Go check that out. There's a bunch of links there. It'll show you different icon galleries, different icon creation tools, and just some general inspiration for your next icon. Okay, moving on to screenshots. Okay, so you want to show your best feature first. And some people just put their screenshots in random order, but you want to show what your best screenshot is first. And you might not know what that best feature is, right? So you're going to have to test this out. Just like with the icons, you're going to have to test out which icon in the first or second position converts best. Second thing is use all the available screenshot slots. Some people just use 2 or 3 and then they call it a day. But you never know what that button is, right? That's gonna make somebody download your app. So be sure to use all the slots and tell people about all the great stuff about in your app. Next is to use eye-catching colors and graphics. And don't use random screenshots or menu screens. I see that a lot also. People just use a screenshot of their main screen, and then that tells me nothing about what the app does or why the app is awesome. So in order to show people why your app is awesome, always use a banner to help people understand the exact benefit that screenshot is showing. And then look at your competition and try and do it better. And finally, again, test. It's not a one-time thing. A lot of these big companies are testing things constantly, and you might not be able to test that much, but if you can do 1 or 2 tests here and there, you can really see some gains. So let's take a look at some screenshots. So a good example is Clash of Clans. It's one of my favorite, all-around apps, just from both a game standpoint and a marketing standpoint. So what they do here is they put a banner at the top showing the exact benefit of the game. And these are things that people want to do in a game, I guess. So, and I'm sure they've tested these characters, and these are probably the most attractive characters to people. So if you want to check those out, that's one good example. And an example of what not to do is Facebook. So you know how I mentioned that, okay, you don't want to just take a screenshot of your home screen or, stuff in the app, right? And that's exactly what they've done. But I guess because Facebook is Facebook and, they don't really care too much, I think, about optimization, because if you're going to use Facebook, you're going to use it, right? But it is an example of what not to do. So take this first screenshot, for example. Like, what is that really showing us? It's showing us the timeline, and you can like things, but is there something hidden there? Is there another thing that they're trying to show us? I don't know, because they're not really specifying it. So take a look at some screenshots. That's the best thing to do, and get some ideas on what could help people, or what could help you tell people about your app, right? Okay, so screenshot creation tools. I get this question a lot. So if you're a designer, obviously you're going to use Photoshop, right? But there are also screenshot creation tools, which will allow you to upload your screenshot and put in the banner or put in a nice background, and it makes it really easy. So there's a few out there. Just Google it and see what works best for you, your price range, your skill set. But I found a few like DaVinci Launch Kit, App Launchpad, and App Institute has, I think, their own screenshot creator. So that's something to look into. So now let's get into app videos. Okay, so there's a lot going on in a video, obviously. So there's also a lot of things you have to think about. So the first thing you want to consider is you want to keep a good pace. You don't want the video to be too fast or too slow. And that's tough to judge because, you know, what's fast for one person might be slow to another person. So you want to try to, on your first version, create something that you think is a good pace and then show it to people and see what they think. You want to change screens throughout the video to keep things interesting. You can do like a regular slideshow, or you could do, you know, a scene in your app, but make sure to make different scenes, because this will keep people engaged and they won't get bored. The next thing is to make sure that the video looks good on your target device. I mean, you could be creating the video on like a 52-inch TV or something, and it could look fantastic. You can see, you know, a ton of details, but then when you watch it on an iPhone, it's going to be like terrible. So that's another thing to consider. Make sure that the video looks good on the device that you're targeting. If you're going to use music, make sure that it's not like, you know, common kitschy elevator music. Make sure that it keeps people interested, and there's, you know, some creativity behind it, and it matches the mood that you're going for. Now, if you're going to be speaking on your video and you don't really have a radio voice, or you don't want to speak on your video, then you can hire voice talent, and it's pretty inexpensive. I'll give you some resources at the end of this webinar, but you can hire somebody to do a voiceover, and it sounds, you know, sounds like the movies, right? Okay, and then next is to beware of copyright violations. I know this can be easy to do. Like, you're gonna stick in a picture here and there, or maybe a video clip of something. And this is going up on, you know, on the app stores on YouTube. So you really want to be aware of copyright violations because this could get you into trouble. Next, be sure to follow the guidelines of the app store or platform. That's kind of obvious, but sometimes in our excitement, we can get a little bit, you know, a little overzealous about it. Next, be sure that the first frame, otherwise known as the poster frame, or whatever you want to call it on the platform, is attention grabbing. Again, like with the screenshots, I've seen people just take a random, you know, screenshot from the video and use that as the first frame. And you know, sometimes people don't choose the best you know, screenshot. So be sure that one is attention grabbing also, and think of that as your screenshot, or as a screenshot. And then highlight your best benefits first in the video. People are scrolling quickly, like I demonstrated in that little video, and you want to be able to highlight the best things first. And again, this might be a matter of opinion, right? So you're going to try and survey your audience and see what they think is important, and then you might have to shuffle the order around, but highlight your best benefit first. And then finally, this is probably the most important thing, but you want to capture your viewers' attention from the beginning. I think as amateur video creators, we think that we have to build up to this big you know, finale at the end of the video, and you don't really have to you know, hit people right away. But that's the opposite of what you want to be doing with app marketing, because people have a limited amount of time, and you just want to capture their attention right away, show the best benefit first, and then hope that they'll download, right? So you want to kind of do it in reverse, have the finale at the beginning, and then kind of tail off into, okay, what are some of the minor points? And that's going to help you engage with the person, and you know, it makes it more likely that you get a download. Okay, so also remember that you're going to be creating videos for the App Store, the Play Store, or whatever store that you're publishing on. But consider using those same videos for like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and you can just cut up certain parts or if you hire someone, you can get them to do, a similar video for each platform and save a lot of money, because they're basically using the same assets, but just putting it together differently, right? So think about that whenever you create a video. If you want to create your own video software is really easy to use. So if you have a tight budget, I would recommend giving that a try. And I'll show you some tools in a minute, but this will allow you to test a lot of different ideas for cheap. And then if you create it yourself and then you want to, you get an idea that works, then maybe then you can take it to a professional video creator. And remember that even a good video can decrease your downloads. So you need to test. I've seen this before where people have put, a lot of work into a video and then it actually decreased their downloads. And you would think that a video is better, right? Because it's more interactive, it shows more about your app, but not necessarily so. Like with anything else in App Store optimization, something that looks really good could actually have a negative effect. So remember to test it out and see what the effects actually are. Okay, so let's get into some tools. Just really quick, you can do your own research on other things, but this is what I found is easy to use. If you have a Mac, iMovie with QuickTime is a good alternative, is a good place to start, because that stuff is included for free, right? If you want to get a little more professional, I think this is a little overkill for app videos, but if you really want to get into it, then you can use Final Cut Pro instead of iMovie. And then ScreenFlow is also a good product. I use ScreenFlow for a lot of things, and it can do everything from YouTube videos to podcast episodes, and it can record mobile devices natively. So it's a nice thing to use. PC, I haven't used a PC for a long time, so I'm not too familiar with the tools, but maybe you can do some research. But I found that when I used to have a PC, Camtasia Studio was a good alternative, and it was really easy to use. I actually prefer Camtasia Studio on a PC because I think that's the best like at home editing tool. Unfortunately, I don't have a PC, so oh well. But yeah, those are some video creation tools that you can use. All right, so I talked a lot about split testing, testing different ideas, testing different icons, screenshots, and videos. So let's get into that a little bit. The benefits of split testing: you can test new ideas without changing what is working. So let's say that you have an App Store profile up there and it's working pretty well, but you want to test some new ideas. So these split testing tools will allow you to put up a bunch of ideas, and you can either test them on a small part of your audience, like with the Google developer tools, or you can not put it into the app stores at all, and you can put it on a separate site that these split testing tools provide. And then you can drive traffic through your email list or through Facebook ads or whatever. And then you can see how many people will click on that, quote, fake profile, and how many will download the app based on these profiles. And this helps you test, so-called crazy ideas, right? What if I did this? Well, I don't want to risk my App Store profile on a crazy idea. Well, these split testing tools will help you do that. And they'll show you actual numbers on what's working and what isn't working, instead of just kind of guessing. So there's a bunch of split testing tools out there, but you can use something like Splitmetrics, Splitforce, Google developer tools, TestNest, or Aptimize. And here's a screenshot of TestNest. And as you can see, they provide a page that looks very similar to an App Store profile. And this will get data to show you what works and what doesn't. Okay, how to get feedback. So it's really important to engage both your audience and people who are more experienced in app icon and screenshot design. So there's quite a few resources that you can use. First, if you have an existing audience, you can just email them, or if you have a Facebook group, put it up in the Facebook group. Oh, excuse me. And then ask them what's better. Like, especially for icons, this is great. Have like an A, B, and C, which is better, A, B, or C. And this can really help you develop your product and your graphic assets. Then there's a couple of Facebook groups that I recommend. We have our own mobile action app marketing community. So if you want to join that, we would be happy to give you feedback on any icons or screenshots or whatever you have. And there's also the App Entrepreneurs and Marketers group, which is a huge group. for app developers, and they have a feedback Friday. So you can post anything you want basically and get feedback from the group, which is awesome. And people usually give you a lot of useful tips. So I would recommend that group also. And then you just ask people at random coffee shops and standing in line. That might sound a little weird, but if you have an A/B, screenshot design or a A/B icon design, you can just ask them, hey, which one looks better? And that's a more random sampling, and it might give you some more data that you wouldn't get if you just asked friends or family. But that's also another alternative, right? Ask your friends, family, or coworkers, and they can give you some feedback there. Okay, so where to hire designers? If you've hired outsourced workers before, then you probably know the usual suspects. Upwork, Dribbble, 99 Designs. Those are good places for like screenshots, icons, and possibly videos, or probably videos, especially for Upwork. Aptomen also does app videos. They're a little higher scale, so you're going to need a little bit of budget to work with them, but they specialize in app videos, and they can give you some good deals on packages. So I would recommend checking them out. Okay, so that's about it. I hope that helped. If you want to try out some of the tools that I mentioned here, like the top charts, then you can sign up at mobileaction.co. But right now I'll get into some questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, people are asking, will the video be available after the session? Yes, it will be recorded, and I will email it to you so that you can reference it anytime. Let's see. What if the app is a dictionary? Would using words on the icon be fine? Okay. So this person's asking, if it's a dictionary app, do you want to use words? And I would probably say no. If you, at most, maybe you could use like 1 or 2 letters or something, but I think it would be far more beneficial to use like a book type icon or something like that to convey the idea of a dictionary. So, go into that category and take a look at the icons that people are using, and see what's working, what's not working, and test things out. But that would be my recommendation. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, thank you, Naveed. Glad you enjoyed the webinar. What are some crazy screenshot videos ideas that you worked unexpectedly? That's a good question, Chris. I haven't really tested any crazy ideas. I've just helped consult with people on this stuff, but I haven't really gone off the deep end and tested crazy stuff. So it's up to you, and it really depends on the category, right? Like what's going to be crazy in the dictionary category isn't going to be, or the dictionary niche isn't going to be crazy in like the flower niche or something, right? So you really have to test things out, and that's all I can really say about that. Let's see. Testing video without. Okay, so this person's saying, our testing with a video or without a video didn't show a conversion change over 2,500 visits. Yeah, that's not, it's a decent sample size, right? It's not large, but it is a decent sample size. This person asked, have you noticed a large difference in conversion with and without a video? Yeah, that's a good question. Again, it comes down to testing. Like, it's really going to depend on, how good is your video? How good is that poster frame, that first frame that you're displaying to the public? How good is that? How good is your app? That's another thing. Like, if people kind of know about your app already, then the video could boost your conversion rate. If not, then it might be a little bit harder to get a download. So it really depends on a lot of variables, like how good is the video, how attractive is your icon with the video, how good is your branding, stuff like that. So again, it really comes down to testing and creating a few different ideas and testing them out. So that's what I would say. Answer the questions in the questions area. Yep, got it. I'll get to that after this. You're welcome, Chris. Suggest tools that make icons easy and fast. I spent a lot of time creating them from scratch. Okay. I haven't really looked at tools that make icon creation fast, because I usually just, I would tell somebody to hire a designer, because you can get it pretty inexpensively. But I can look into that, and I will see what I find, and I can post the whatever I find in the questions here. But that's a good question. Okay, what about video length? Yeah. That's a good question. So first, look at the platform, right? Like, I think Google, I'm not Google, but Apple limits you to, what was it, 30 seconds, something like that. So use it. I guess the answer is use as much time as is necessary to get your point across, right? Just because you have, 2 hours on YouTube, you're not going to make a 2-hour video, right? So yeah, just use as much time as within the constraints of whatever app store you're publishing to. You want to make things punchy, keep things moving, and use as much time as is necessary to get your point across and to show the primary benefits of your app, right? Okay. I was at a conference last week in Prague, and a big publisher member mentioned trashy 3D icons. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean there, but if you want to add a question to that, let me know. But yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're getting at there, but I'm not too sure. But like trashy 3D icons, maybe icons that look kind of like the older style, right, of 3D icons. And that's a good point, because you have to keep up with the design trends, and make sure that you look modern. So that's what I would say to that. Okay, so do you recommend making an icon look like one of the top, which looks like the top ones, or making one that stands out, unique? Okay, Dev, yeah, that's a good question. So this person's asking, would you recommend basically, creating a really similar icon to, say, like Dropbox or something like that? And I would say test it out. You obviously don't want to make it like a copy, but also test out different ideas. Test out things that you have. Keep it simple, and take the overall, I would say take the overall principles of the icons in your category. Don't steal it, but just take the principles that they're using, and then create some ideas to test. And again, it comes down to, just testing your icons. Okay. Yeah, Chris, that's a good point. You can get some icons on Fiverr for $5 a piece, and they won't be spectacular, but it'll help you flesh out some ideas. You can maybe, if you're not a good designer, then maybe you just have a sketch, and those guys, some of them are really good at creating something out of nothing, just out of a sketch. So that can be a good way to kind of create some icons, get some feedback, create some more icons. And you can get quite a few icons for like $50, and you can get a lot of feedback out of that. Okay, Justin says, I got my icons on AppSmart. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, yeah, the app already have a lot of users. I'm not sure if I should change the icon. I think they're accustomed to the existing one. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Like, if you have something that's working, then use these split testing tools to test another icon off the App Store, and that will help you out. Because yeah, if you have something that's working, you really don't want to change it, right? And but you also want to test some ideas. Okay, are videos on the Play Store a ranking factor? That's a good question. I don't know. I'll look into that, but the answer right now is I don't know. But that's a good point. It could be a ranking factor given how Google works, right? Okay, so let me take a look at some of the questions down here. What are the best icon colors, or the best colors to use for an icon? Yeah, I mentioned that, use your own branding, and just make sure that you use colors that kind of stand out on people's home screens, so you don't get lost in the shuffle of all the apps. What's better, an icon with a framework or without one? That's really going to depend. If you're a designer and you can use a framework and it helps you, then great. But I think it all comes down to what is the finished product? How are you going to create that finished product that you have in your mind, your vision? And if that's with a framework or without, whatever works best for you. Let's see. What's more important, text or graphic elements? Oh, okay, I see. That's a good question, Tom. So it depends what I guess so you're trying to get discovered in the App Store, right? Let's take it from that angle. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to be ranking for keywords, right? If people can't find you in the App Store through search, then it's going to be really tough to get downloads. So I would focus first on picking the right keywords, putting your top keywords into your title, because that's going to have the most weight, and then putting those keywords in your description for the Play Store or your keyword field for the App Store, and that's going to help people find you through search, right? But after that, then that's where the graphic elements come into play. Like, your icon is going to be the next most important thing, because that's going to be seen all over the place. And then your screenshots. And then after that are the more kind of minor things, like, your app description, stuff like that. So that's how I would rank it. Okay, are testing with video or without video? Okay, I answered that one already. Round versus square. Yeah, just test it out, see what works. That's the way to do it. Fan of your blog post on Blue Cloud. Okay, thanks for that. What are the best way to test ASO elements? As in Facebook ads. What is the best way to test ASO elements and why? Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, so it depends on where you are. It really depends on your app, right? Okay, so if the elements that you're testing are keywords, then obviously you're going to have to just test the keywords test inside of the app stores, right? Because that's where people are going to find you for the keywords. If you're testing for these graphic elements, then you can also test that inside of the app store. Put up an icon, change it, measure, change it, measure. If you don't have a budget. If you have a budget and you can spend a decent amount of money on Facebook ads, then I would recommend using those split testing tools and sending some traffic to those dummy pages and seeing what people do, right? And if you don't have a lot of traffic already on the App Store, then you might need to do the Facebook ads. But if you already have a lot of traffic, especially on Google Play, because they have the built-in tools, then you can roll out some of these assets to part of your audience already and your existing audience, and you can see the results there. So that's how I'd recommend testing that. But yeah, thanks, Ismail. Oh, you have another question. Okay, what is the best way to create a description for Google Play? Does the optimization? Okay, yeah, that's a good question, but that's kind of outside the scope of this. So I want to make sure that I catch the questions. If you go to Mobile Action Academy, I actually talked about that in the choosing keywords video, and there's some other videos in there that'll show you how to do that. So he's asking about creating a keyword description for Google Play. So I would recommend going there. And if you don't get answered there, then feel free to contact us directly from the little conversation bubble in the lower right corner of any page, and we'll be happy to try and help you. Okay, I heard that paying a designer to create an icon will go over a really long way. what do you say is true? Do you suggest, okay, do you suggest asking different designers to design icons and test them from different designers, or is testing different designs from the same designer sufficient? Okay, that's a really good question. So here's my take on that. It first of all, it depends on how good the designer is. Like, I've worked with some designers who could create anything that I could think of, right? So if I had an idea, I could give them a basic sketch. They could create a pretty good icon or whatever I was creating, a logo, I think, in that case. So if that's the case and they can do a good job with any idea you have, then, you know, work with the same designer. But if the designer is maybe mediocre, but, you know, reasonably priced, then you might want to try different designers, because you want to get different sampling of different types of you know, design styles, right? So that's what I would say for that. Okay, do you think it's better to include the phone in the screenshots as in a drop-in screenshot image or not? Okay, yeah, that really comes down to testing. Again, you want to test out with and without the screen, with and without the phone, and see how it works. Okay, next question from Xavier. My CEO read an article saying that showing faces hurt our conversion rate, and as a result doesn't want to use a face on our game icon. What's the best way to educate them on A/B testing versus just one-on? Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of times we let our biases get in the way, and, you know, that can really prevent people from creating something that works really well. So I would say that use those. Okay, you have a comment here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So you could do two things. One, if you have our market intelligence product, it shows you estimated downloads for, you know, all the apps on the Play Store and the App Store, and you can show him examples of apps that use a face on the icon and are doing well, and you can show him the estimated downloads and revenue. Second thing is, again, to do the split testing, right? To put up some dummy pages on one of those split testing tools, send some Facebook traffic to it, and then show him those metrics also. And those two things should be enough to sway him, hopefully. So that would be my answer. Okay, can hot girls holding a phone or something in exotic places increase conversion? Again, it comes down to testing, right? So it could, it might not. It might decrease conversion depending on what kind of app you have and what your audience is. So test it out, test it out, test it out. That's what it comes down to. And I'm sure, you know, it's probably a good place to start if you have if it's for the right audience, like a male audience or whatever. That could be a good place to start. Okay, please tell us who those great designers are who can create anything you can think of. I'd have to look back on my Upwork history, but yeah, if I can find that, I'll put that in these notes here, Chris. Yeah, too long, didn't read, test, 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 exactly. Okay, so that looks like it's the end of the questions. Anything else, guys? Okay, well, if not, thank you again very much for coming. And if you want to test out some of these things that I talked about, be sure to go over to mobileaction.co and sign up for a free demo account and check it out. But other than that, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you if you have any more questions. All right, thanks a lot.